I want us to talk about functions and graphs. This is just a revision, okay? Yes. Then now, under functions and graphs, today we'll only focus on what? On hyperbola, functions and graphs. So I want us to talk about the functions and graphs, particularly on the hyperbola. Are we together?
Yes.
Right. Number one, we know that when we are dealing with a hyperbola function, we need to be able to know the standard form of a hyperbola. Are you okay?
Yes.
You still remember the standard form of a hyperbola?
Yes.
It is y equals to a over x minus b plus q. Are we together?
Yes.
Now, we know that the value of P and Q are the shifting values, okay?
Yes.
That affect the X and the Y. Remember, this is the standard form for a hyperbola, but not always that here will have a minus, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it might be a plus, or even it might be a plus or a minus, okay?
Yes.
Not always that it is X minus P, right? Now, what are the steps of sketching a hyperbola? What are the steps of sketching a hyperbola? You still remember the steps of sketching of a hyperbolic function or a hyperbola? Number one, what is the first step of sketching a hyperbola? Let me get from yes. Yes, number one, we need to be able to determine the asymptotes. We need to be able to determine the asymptotes. Are we together?
Yes.
We said the asymptotes are the values of x and y when the function is undefined. Are we together?
Yes.
Where the function does not exist. Are we together?
Yes.
By the way, under the asymptotes for hyperbola, how many asymptotes does a hyperbola have? Two asymptotes, right?
Yes.
We have a vertical asymptote, are we together?
Yes.
And a horizontal asymptote. So there are two asymptotes that can be determined on a what? On a hyperbola. Are we together?
Yes.
The vertical asymptote has to do with what? With x or y?
X.
It has to do with x, right?
Yes.
So the denominator, it means x minus p should be equals to 0. Because any number divided by 0 is undefined. So which means the asymptote for the vertical asymptote is will be x equals to p. Are we together?
Yes.
So we change the sign. If it's a minus, it becomes a plus. If it's a plus, it becomes a minus. Are we together?
Yes.
How about the horizontal asymptote? What would be the answer? Yes. Q. Not necessarily Q, but y equals to Q. Are we together?
Yes.
So we have y equals to Q. That is the horizontal asymptote for the hyperbola. Right. Then secondly, what is the second step that we need to follow when we are sketching the graph? Yes? We have to determine the x-intercept. Are we together?
Yes.
Or the x-card. Are we together?
Yes.
And how do we determine the x-intercept, ladies and gentlemen?
We let y.
We have to let y equals to 0. Because at the x-intercept, the y is always equals to 0. Then what is the third step that we need to follow when we are sketching the graph? Yes?
Y-intercept.
Y-intercept. We have to determine the y-intercept. Thank you very much. We have to determine the y-intercept where we always let x to be equals to 0. Are we together?
Yes.
These are the three things that we need to follow when you are sketching a graph for a hyperbola. Are we together?
Yes.
But there are other things that we need to know, particularly we call them the additionals,
Yes.
which you need to be able to know when you are dealing with a hyperbola. You still remember them?
Yes.
Number one, let's just call them the additionals. Are we together?
Yes.
It means these ones, we just add them in case they will ask us to answer them, okay?
Yes.
Number one, what do we have? Anyone? Yes? The domain, right?
Yes.
You need to be able to determine the domain of the what? Of a hyperbola. Are we together?
Yes.
Remember, the domain is the set of x values where the graph exists. Okay?
Yes.
And how do we determine the domain of a hyperbola? What are the conditions? You still remember? Yes, yes.
X is an element of numbers. X is equal to P.
X is an element of what? But x should not be equals to p. So we only restrict the asymptotes, right?
Yes.
It means we use all the numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity, but we only restrict the what? The vertical asymptote. Because at the vertical asymptote, it is the point where the graph does not exist. Are we together?
Yes.
So the domain for the hyperbola, we say x is an element of real number, which means we use all the numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity. We only restrict the what? The asymptotes. Are you there?
Yes.
So what is the asymptote for what is the vertical asymptote? X should not be equals to p. X should not be equals to p. We only restrict the vertical asymptote. Are you following, guys?
Yes.
Then how about the range? When you are dealing with the range, which is the set of y values where the graph exists or where the function exists. Who want to try in terms of Magoma?
Y is an element of full numbers, but y is not equals to p.
Yes, y is an element of real number, but the y should not be equals to q. We only restrict the what? The asymptotes, because the graph is not going to touch at the what? At the asymptotes. Are we together?
Yes.
These are the things that you need to know when you are dealing with a hyperbola. But is it is these two things for additional only, or do you still have other things that you need to know when you are dealing with hyperbola?
Yes.
What are they? Yes, the lines of symmetry. Let's give him a round of applause. Yes, we must be able to know the equations of the lines of symmetry. We must be able to get the equations of the lines of symmetry. How many are they? It's two of them, right?
Yes.
The one with the positive gradient and the negative gradient. What are they? Y equals to x plus c, and y equals to negative x plus c. These are just straight lines, right?
Yes.
One has a positive gradient and one has a negative gradient. Are you okay?
Yes.
What is the gradient of the first straight line? What is the gradient of the first straight line, guys? Remember, it's y equals to mx plus c. What is the gradient there? The coefficient of x is the gradient, right? Guys, why it's like you forgot this. What is the gradient here? 1, right? This one has a negative gradient, which is negative 1. Then, how do we determine this value of c here? How do we determine the value of c? Remember, when we are determining the equation of the lines of symmetry, we need to be able to get the value of c. How are we going to get the value of c? Yes, Wally?
We use the asymptote to determine the value of C.
Yes, we use the asymptotes to determine the value of c. Are we together?
Yes.
We must use the asymptotes. We must use the asymptotes to determine the values of c. To determine the values of c. To determine the values of c. So all the time if we want to determine the equation of the line of symmetry, we need to use the asymptotes. Guys, are you following?
Yes.
I believe you are with me, right?
Yes.
So all the time in the exam, you need to be able to know that when you are sketching a hyperbola, you have to get the asymptotes, both the vertical and the horizontal, right?
Yes.
And the x-intercept where you let y to be 0, and the y-intercept where you let x to be 0. These are just additionals. Are you okay?
Yes.
The domain, the range, and the lines of symmetry. Are we together?
Yes.
And again, you need to be able to understand the transformation. You remember the issue of transformation, right? You need to be able to deal with transformations, where we are dealing with reflections and translations. So we have the issue of reflections and translations. These are very important when you are dealing with functions and graphs. Okay? We still remember we spoke about reflection about the x-axis. You remember? And reflection about the y-axis. Okay? So number one, we had what you call reflection about the x-axis. And right, guys, in terms of the reflection about the x-axis, when we have x and y, what's going to happen if we have the reflection about the axis, if you remember? Sorry? Right. Reflection about the x-axis means the x is not going to change, right?
Yes.
What is going to change is the what? Is the y. Are you okay?
Yes.
Reflection about the x-axis, x does not change. What changes is the what? Is the y. So it means when we have x and y, x does not change. What changes the what?
The y.
If it's positive, it becomes what?
Negative.
This is reflection about the x-axis. Then how about when we are dealing with reflection about the y-axis? Reflection about the y-axis. So what is going to happen when we have a reflection about the y-axis in terms of coordinate? Who want to try? Yes? Y does not change again.
Yes.
What changes the what? Is
The x.
So because look, we are reflecting about the y-axis. So it means if this is the x and this is the y, if we have a point here, let's say of x and y, it means reflection about the y-axis means the point must pass through the y-axis, right?
Yes.
So you see that the y is not going to change, right?
Yes.
What's going to change is the what? Is the x. Okay?
Yes.
But the reflection about the what? The x-axis. You see that the x will not change, right?
Yes.
What's going to change is the what?
The y.
Guys, are you following?
Yes.
So this is called reflection about the y-axis. So it means reflection about the y-axis. The y is not going to change, right?
Yes.
What will change is the what? Is the x. So we'll have negative x and y. Guys, are you following?
Yes.
These things are very important, right? They are very, very important when you are dealing with functions and graphs. Reflection about the x-axis and reflection about the y-axis. Okay?
Yes.
And the issue of translation, right?
Yes.
Tell me, if we have in terms of translation, I want to get from you. If we have f of x minus k, if we have f of x minus k, do you see that the k is going to affect the x, right?
Yes.
So what would be the translation there in terms, if we wanted to describe it? Who want to try it? It has to shift k units, but where? Come on, guys. So if there is a minus, if you recall very well, it has to affect the x, but where? K units to the right because of the minus, right?
Yes.
So it means the graph will do what? Will shift k units to the right. Because it's a minus, right?
Yes.
It's a what? It's a minus. You forgot, right? It's going to shift what? K units to the
Right.
Because it's a minus, right?
Yes.
But how about if we have as a coordinate? If we have a coordinate, something shifting to the right means it's going to increase the value of x, right?
Yes.
So it means the x will increase by much? By k. Okay?
Yes.
But the y will not change. Okay?
Yes.
But how about when we have f of x plus k? It's inside the brackets now. It's a plus k now. The graph will shift k units. It will shift k units to the left. Remember, in a function to the left, it's affected by a plus, right?
Yes.
To the right, it's a what? It's a minus. Are you following, guys?
Yes.
Are you following?
Yes.
Are you following?
Yes.
So remember, it's inside the bracket, so it means it's going to affect the x. Minus implies to the right, plus implies to the left on a function, right?
Yes.
But as a coordinate, a function that is shifting to the left, it means the value of x has to decrease by much? By k. Are you okay?
Yes.
Then y, the value of y, is not changing. Okay?
Yes.
But how about if we have this? How about if we have f of x plus k? Remember, the k is no longer in the brackets. The k is no longer in the brackets, so it means it's not going to affect x, right?
Yes.
It's going to affect what? Y. Then, what is going to happen in terms of the translation? The graph will shift? With how many units? K units, right? So it means the graph will shift, it will shift K, it will shift what? K units, what? Upwards. Guys, okay? The graph will shift what? K units upwards. Then how about if we have f of x minus k? You see, it's no longer in the bracket, so it's not going to affect x. So the graph will do what? The graph will shift what? K units downwards. The graph will shift K units downwards. Are you following, guys?
Yes.
If you want to enjoy functions and graphs, particularly when you're dealing with either hyperbola or parabola or any function, you need to be able to understand transformations. Okay?
Yes.
Transformations are very important when you are dealing with functions and graphs. Are you there?
Yes.
Now, I want us to take this practical. So I want us to use that question paper that I've provided you. Let's now try to answer the questions based on what we have summarized. Okay?
Yes.
Based on what we have summarized. Are we together?
Yes.
Right. Then we know that when you are dealing with straight lines, straight lines require what? The x-intercept and the y-intercept only. Okay?
Yes.
Now, let's go through the paper together and we analyze. Right, what are we given in the first tutorial? F of x equals to?
2 over x minus 1 plus 1.
F of x equals to?
2 over x.
So that's the first function, right?
Yes.
So f of x equals to 2 over x minus 1 plus 1. Okay?
Yes.
And this is our function, right? If I may ask you, what type of function is this?
Hyperbola.
It is a what?
Hyperbola.
It is a hyperbola. Are we together?
Yes.
It is a hyperbola. The first one, it is the hyperbola. Then how about the second one? It's a linear function, right? It is a straight line. Okay. Right. Now, let's answer the question. What is the first question?
Write down the equation of the asymptotes of f.
Write down the equations of the asymptotes of f. So it means now we want to write down the equations of the asymptotes. Are we together?
Yes.
And we know that hyperbola has how many asymptotes, ladies and gentlemen?
2 asymptotes.
The vertical asymptote and the
Horizontal asymptotes.
what is our our vertical asymptote here? Okay, what is our asymptote? Yes?
X is equal
Be loud, please.
to 1. X is equal to 1.
X equals to 1.
And y equals to 1.
She's saying x equals to 1 and y equals to 1. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So we are going to say x equals to 1 and y is also equals to 1. So remember, any number divided by 0 is undefined, right?
Yes.
Which means if x minus 1 equals to 0, if x equals to 1, then the equation will become undefined. So x equals to 1 and y equals to 1. So we change the sign for x, okay?
Yes.
We change the sign for x. If there was a plus 1 here, what would be the asymptote?
Negative 1.
The asymptote would not be negative 1, it would be x equals to
Negative 1.
Okay?
Yes.
Because you cannot say the asymptote is negative 1. No. The asymptote is x equals to
Negative 1.
Okay?
Yes.
So the asymptote here, it's x equals to 1 and y equals to 1. So we have answered the first question. Now we move on to the second question. 1.2. 1.2. What is the second question?
Determine the coordinates of the x-intercept.
Determine the coordinates of the x-intercept. How to determine the coordinate of the x-intercept? We let y to be 0, right?
Yes.
We're going to say x-intercept, we let y to be 0, ladies and gentlemen, right?
Yes.
So in our equation for f, remember this is our y, right?
Yes.
So we want to say y equals to 2 over x minus 1 plus 1, right?
Yes.
When there is y, we're going to substitute by how much? By 0. We're going to have 0 equals to 2 minus x minus 1 plus 1. From here, guys? Yes? Yes, we transpose 1 to the left-hand side, right?
Yes.
This will give us how much? Negative 1 equals to 2 over x minus 1. Okay?
Yes.
Is this a fraction?
Yes.
So it means we can make this one a fraction by dividing by 1. Okay?
Yes.
Then from here? Yes, Johannes? We cross multiply. Yes, that's correct. Let's cross multiply. This will give us how much, ladies and gentlemen? It will be negative into what? Negative into x minus 1 equals to how much? 2. From here we multiply by negative, right?
Yes.
So this will give us negative x plus 1 equals to 2. Then we transpose what? 1 to the right hand side. So this will give us minus x equals to 2 minus 1, which is just 1. Okay?
Yes.
Then from here? Where? From here? Where? Okay?
We divide both sides by negative.
We divide both sides by negative or multiply by negative, right?
Yes.
So what will be the value of x here?
Negative 1.
The value of x will be negative 1, right?
Yes.
But remember, like I said, determine the coordinates. So it means we need to know the value of x and y. So what is the value of x? What is the coordinate? When x is how much? Negative 1. What is the y value? 0. So these are the coordinates of the x-intercept. Are we done? Are we done? 1.3. What is the question?
Determine the coordinates of the y-intercept.
Determine the coordinate of the y-intercept. Determine the coordinates of the y-intercept. Malaji, how to determine the coordinates of the y-intercept? We let x to be 0, correct? We're going to let x to be equals to 0. So in our function, when there is x, we substitute by how much? By 0. So what is our function, guys? Y equals to 2 over x minus 1 plus 1. So the y-intercept is going to be 2 divided by how much? 0 minus 1 plus 1. So what will be the answer? What will be the answer, guys?
Negative 1.
The y value will be negative 1. So y equals to negative 1. But they said the coordinates, right?
Yes.
What would be the coordinate? When x is 0, the y value is negative 1. I believe you are following, right?
Yes.
Then now, 1.4. What is the question, guys?
Write down the domain of F.
Write down the domain of f, right?
Yes.
What did we say about the domain of f, guys, for a hyperbola? Does domain talk about x or y?
Yes.
X, right?
Yes.
It talks about x, right?
Yes.
So what will be the domain of a function? Yes? X is an element of real number, which means you can use all the numbers from negative infinity to positive infinity. How done? Then, comma, such that x must not be equal to p. Is that the answer? X must not be equal to p. 1. Already we have the p, right?
Yes.
X must not be equal to 1. We already have the p. You cannot just write this as it is, right?
Yes.
We already have the p, right?
Yes.
So x must not be equal to 1. You understand why?
Yes.
X must not be equal to 1. Because x equals to 1 is our vertical asymptote. We only restrict the vertical asymptotes. Okay?
Yes.
So guys, are you following?
Yes.
Guys, are you following?
Yes.
Remember, this was just 1 mark, right? This was how many mark? 3, right? Okay, this one is just 1 mark. Then, what is the next question? 1.5?
Write down the range of F.
Write down the what?
The range of F.
We want to write down the range of f. William, how do we determine the range of f? Y is an element of real number, yes? Y is an element of real number, William, yes? Not y. Comma y not. What's going on, William? What's wrong? My girl? Y is an element of real number? Y must not be equals to 1. Y should not be equals to 1. Because y equals to 1 is our horizontal asymptote. Okay?
Yes.
It means the graph is not going to touch at 1. So we're going to say we use all values from negative infinity to positive infinity, but we only restrict the one? The horizontal asymptote. Are you okay?
Yes.
So this is the range. Are you following, guys?
Yes.
Are you guys following?
Yes.
Then what is the next question from the paper then?
Determine the equation of the line of symmetry of that is the negative.
Determine the equation of the line of symmetry of f. Again,
Yes.
that is what? The negative gradient. We want to determine the equation of the line of symmetry of f, but the one with the what?
The negative gradient.
So it means we don't want two of them, right?
Yes.
So which one are we going to use here? We are going to use y equals to x plus c or y equals to minus x plus c?
Y equals to minus x plus c.
Because it's the one that is a negative what?
Gradient.
So we're going to just determine the one with the negative gradient. Are you following, guys?
Yes.
Are you following?
Yes.
Alright. Then this question what? 1.6. So we're going to say y equals to negative x plus c. Okay.
Yes.
How are we going to get the c?
We use the electron.
We use the
Asymptote.
all the time. Okay.
Yes.
What is the y value for the asymptote? 1. So substitute here by 1, right?
Yes.
What is the x value for the asymptote?
1.
Plus c. It means this is going to be 1 equals to negative 1 plus c. Then we transpose negative 1 to the left-hand side. So what will be the value of c? If you are transposing negative 1 to the left-hand side, 2 equals to c. So we now know the value of c, right?
Yes.
C equals to how much? 2. It does not need us, we can even write on the right or on the left, there's no problem, right?
Yes.
C is equals to how much? 2. But are we done?
No.
So what is the equation now?
Y
Y equals to negative x plus 2. So this is the equation of the line of symmetry. That is the what? Negative gradient. That is the negative what?
Gradient.
That is the negative gradient. Then 1.7. 1.7. Read the question.
If h of x equals to f of x plus 3 minus 1.
If h of x equals to f of x plus 3 minus 1, then what?
Describe the transformation of h from f.
You see that this h is a function of f, right?
Yes.
So you want to know what is going to happen. What will be the transformation when we move from what? From f to what? To h. We want to describe this. We want to describe, you see, these are the transformation, right?
Yes.
So what are we going to say then? In terms of when we are going to describe this. Look at this. What I want you to say in terms of the shifting. Yes? Shifted 3 units to the right. She's saying the graph will shift 3 units to the right. Is that true? Remember, we have x plus 3. So is the graph going to shift 3 units to the right? Is that true?
No.
Remember, if it's to the right, the function should have a what?
Negative.
A negative. If it's to the what?
To the left.
The function must be plus. So what do I have there? Plus. So is the function shifting 3 units to the right?
No.
Then correct it. Yes, the graph will shift how many units?
3 units to the left.
Because of a plus inside the brackets, right?
Yes.
That means the graph will do what? Will shift 3 what? Units to the left because of the plus again. And what? Outside the brackets there's a 1. Outside the bracket, which means this affects y. So it will shift what?
1 unit downwards.
And what?
1 unit downwards.
And 1 unit downwards. Okay?
Yes.
So it means the graph will shift. The graph will shift what? 3 units to the left because of the plus inside the brackets, ne?
Yes.
And 1 unit
downwards.
because it's outside the brackets. Are you okay, guys?
Yes.
Guys, are you following here?
Yes.
How about if the function was like this? Let's describe the transformation. The graph will shift 1 unit to the left and 3 units upwards. Is it correct?
No.
Yeah? Is it correct? What is the mistake?
1 unit to the right.
It's supposed to say the graph will shift
1 unit to the right.
and
3 units upwards.
yes, 3 units upwards, but 1 unit to the right. To the right in the function, if it's a minus, it means to the right, right?
Yes.
If it's a plus, it means to the left. Are you okay?
Yes.
Are you saw that? So it will shift what? 1 unit to the right and 3 units upwards. Let's give him a round of applause. Guys, these are exam typical questions, right?
Yes.
So you must be able to understand the transformations. Okay? You must be able to understand the transformation. So now, let's move on. 1.8. 1.8.
Hence, determine the domain and range of h.
Hence what?
Determine the domain and range of h.
We want to determine the domain and the what? And the range of what? Of h. So it means to determine the domain and the range of h, we must know the equation of h, right?
Yes.
We are going to do this. What is the equation of f?
2 over x minus 1.
Look guys, are you aware that on this graph, since we have x minus 1, it means from the original function of hyperbola, the graph will shift 1 unit to the right because of the minus, ne?
Yes.
And 1 unit what? Upwards.
Upwards.
So now if we do what? If we are shifting the graph what? 3 units to the right, it means the value of x will be added by much? By 3. Ne?
Yes.
And the value of y will be subtracted by much? By 1. Because we are moving downwards, right?
Yes.
So it means the equation of h would be what? 2. Remember we are changing f, right? The graph was shifting 1 unit. 1 unit to the right because of the minus, right?
Yes.
Now we are shifting how many units?
3 units.
To the what? To the right. So it will just be plus 3. You understand now?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Then how about on y? It was shifting 1 unit what? Downwards. No. It was shifting 1 unit. 1 unit up. So it's like that?
Yes.
Now we want to shift how many units?
1 unit
Down. So we subtract by much? By 1. Guys, are you okay?
Yes.
You understand why we're subtracting them by 1?
Yes.
This graph was shifting 1 unit. 1 unit to the right and 1 unit upwards. Now we are changing it. We are shifting 1 unit. 3 units to the left, which is a plus, right?
Yes.
And 1 unit down, which is to subtract by 1 on the q, right?
Yes.
So what would be the new equation? It will be 2 over what? X. What is minus 1 plus 3? This will be plus 2. What is plus 1 minus 1? It will just give us 0. You see that the q is 0, right?
Yes.
You see that the q is 0?
Yes.
So we can just leave it. So this is the equation of what? Of h. Right?
Yes.
But what does the question want? Remember, if you want to determine the what? The domain, you have to know the asymptotes, right?
Yes.
What are our asymptotes here? Come on, guys.
X equals to negative 2.
X equals to negative 2, correct? And y equals to 0. Is it the q is 0, right?
Yes.
The q is what?
0.
Guys, are you following?
Yes.
The graph has shifted how many units?
3.
Where? To the left. And 1 unit downwards. So it means by 0, balance is going to be by 1, right?
Yes.
So now it will give us this. So we have the asymptote is x equals to minus 2 and y equals to 0. Are we done? Are we not done? Eh?
Yes.
We have to write down the what? The domain and the what? And the range. We have to write down the domain and the range. What is the domain? X is an element of real number and x should not be equals to negative 2. While the what? The range is y is an element of real number. Y should not be equals to 0. Guys, are you okay?
Yes.
Y should not be equals to 0. Are you following?
Yes.
Transformations are very important, guys, right? Transformations are very important. Okay. So you need to be able to get that. Okay. You need to be able to get that. Right. What is the next question? What is the next question?
Write down the equation of W.
Write down the what?
The equation of W.
Write down the what?
The equation of W.
Oh, no. We are not done, guys. 1.9. 1.9. We did not answer 1.9. Remember, this was 1.8, right? 1.9 says what? Write down the equation. Oh, okay. I apologize. Yes. Write down the equation of W. What? Resulted after reflecting the graph of f about what?
The x-axis.
So it means now we are taking the graph of f and we do what? Firstly, number 1, we do what? We make what? Reflection about what? X-axis. Initially means that they're saying we must do what? We must reflect the graph of f about what? The x-axis. Guys, how do we reflect the graph of f about the x-axis? What do you know about the reflection about the x-axis? In terms of x and y. X does not change, right?
Yes.
What is going to change the what?
The y.
If it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes
Positive.
Now, they are saying we need to write down the equation of W resulted after doing what? Reflecting the graph of f about the x-axis. Then, secondly, and thereafter, so it means you have to do, we must reflect first,
Yes.
then thereafter we do what? We shift the 3 units, which is going to affect the Q, right?
Yes.
So let's do the reflection first. We must do the reflection first, On what? On F, right?
Yes.
What is the equation of F? Y equals to 2 over x minus 1 plus 1. Yeah?
Yes.
So first we must do what? We must do the reflection about the x-axis. So let's check. If we are doing the reflection about the x-axis, do we change x or do we change y?
Change y.
If y is what? It's positive. Now it will become
Negative.
it means you have to put a minus there. Are you okay?
Yes.
Are you following?
Yes.
We are going to substitute the y value with the what? With the minus sign. Because we are doing the what? The reflection about the y-axis. Are you following?
Yes.
But we cannot leave the equation like that with minus y equals to 2. We have to make y the subject of the formula. So it means I'm going to multiply everything by how much? By negative. Are you okay?
Yes.
You following?
Yes.
You said x must not change, eh?
Yes.
What's going to change is the what? Is the y. If it's positive, it becomes
Negative.
so let's multiply both by how much? By negative. Are you okay?
Yes.
Negative times negative becomes positive, eh? So we're going to multiply the numerator with the negative, eh? This would be negative 2 over x minus 1. You see the x is not changed, did not change, eh?
Yes.
You see that the q will change?
Yes.
Now it will be negative 1.
1.
You see that the graph has shifted 1 unit downwards. The graph has shifted 1 unit downwards. The graph has shifted 1 unit what? Downwards. Are you okay?
Yes.
Then now, we have done the what? We have done the reflection. The last one? We shift what?
3 units downwards.
Shifting 3 units downwards will be what? Are we going to subtract? Remember, downwards is affecting the y or the x? The q actual, eh?
Yes.
So we're going to add by 3 or here or subtract by 3? Subtract by 3, right?
Yes.
So what will be the equation of w? Negative 2 over x minus 1 minus 4. Okay?
Yes.
Minus 4. So that is the what? That is the equation of w. Okay?
Yes.
That is the equation of w. Okay, guys, I think it is time up. We'll continue with the session, right?
Yes.
Right. Thank you very much.